Greetings, you Titans, and welcome to another episode on the Best You Right Now podcast. I am your host, JB, and today I would like to talk with you about letting go of the things that hold you down. So if you're wondering why you're feeling so lethargic, so upset, so frustrated, and so angry, and you're ready to let that go, stay tuned because I'd love to uncover this with you. So the way that this really goes down is I should probably give a little background into how everything goes. And I want to give a quick thank you to James Wedmore and his podcast. I'm completely drawing a blank on it, so hopefully I'll get a chance to put it in the notes. But it's because of his direction that he's done in his podcast that I kind of go in the same format. I found it to be very informative, very helpful, and really engaging to get you and I to where we need to be. So big thank you to James for doing what he does. Please, if you have not checked this out, I have his info and notes. I'm hoping that I have the right information in there. You can get connected, see what he's up to now. He's definitely a titan in the industry, one that you gotta follow, keep in mind, and all that. So I want to talk with you about how to let things go. I mean, that's a very important thing that most of us forget. We may have been brought up in the concept of doing that whole like letting go and let God type of thing where it's like it's almost a way for you to kind of escape from whatever situations are occurring. And I want to remind you that this whole letting go and letting God thing is not you're going to stop doing what you need to do. There's certain ways to let go, and there's still ways to stay connected. I wrote a blog about this a long time ago. That one is an adventurer, and I forget where the story came from. So if I can find the original story, I'll make sure to post that also. But the concept was really simple. Adventurer's looking for treasure. He isn't able to find it, finds a dead end, but he went right to where the map told him to go. The ceiling starts to collapse. He's not able to hold it any longer, and he thinks, this is it, I'm done. He lets go, and the floor falls out from underneath him. He lands, and he's fine. Escape, bruises and cuts and such. But he looks around him and he finds the treasure. Now, the story elaborates a little bit more into how he's feeling, what he's going through, the thoughts that he's having. And most of the time, that's where we're at. And then we take this misconception of letting go means we're going to get this special prize and all that. But really, the point of the story there is to remind us that sometimes we do need to let go in order to progress. I found myself in that exact situation a couple weeks ago when having to make a decision of the job that I was working versus doing what I was doing on the side to make that a little bit more full-time again. We were in a situation where we needed to make a good amount of money in a quick way, in a fast way, I should say. So diligently, with efficiency, we needed to come up with, a few $1,000s. So I decided I was going to take the leap, and I talked with my boss at the time, and I said, listen, this is where I'm at. I know I can do this. If I just have a little bit of time to get this done, I can make it happen. They asked how long I think I might need. I said about 7 to 10 days. It was about $8,000. I'm thinking if I can close $1,000 a day, and I've done it before, it's just a matter of being consistent. And every time I went through the road and this journey to get that $1,000 day again, I was stopped almost at every corner. It's almost like I wasn't meant to make the $1,000. It's like I was meant to do what I'm doing, but not just for the sake of making the money, but the sake of actually still uncovering more of what had to get done. So a couple weeks went by, and I notified my boss. I'm like, listen, I'm still working through this. I don't know how much more time I need. I've made a couple sales, but not enough to sustain. So my boss had said, well, why don't you come on in, let's talk about it and see what we can do. We couldn't really come to an agreement of what it is that I could offer on top of doing the work I was doing. So I wasn't going to be the salesperson the whole time. I wanted to work part-time, get a little bit of leeway in there, do, a couple hundred a week, and just kind of call it for that, just help out in little areas here and there. We weren't able to come up to an agreement to that. So today, as I'm recording this, it's the 28th of August. I believe it's Tuesday. It's losing track of the days again. We came out to an agreement that for now I was going to stop and terminate my position that I have, And if it opens up in the future, that if situations allow, then I'll come back and see if we can make it work again. This is something I didn't really want to do because I enjoyed the work I was doing. The thing at the end of the day, it came down to a financial decision. Financially, I was putting in a lot of time and not getting enough reward for that time. So it's not in the sense of it's a bad thing that's occurring. It's a sense of, in order to get where I need to go, I had to let this part leave. So then how do we deal with the frustration though? How do we deal with the anxiety, the scarcity feeling, the what's gonna happen next? How am I gonna put food on the table? Well, it's been like that for me now the past couple of weeks because I since I wasn't working and there was no vacation time, I had no money coming in anyway from that particular venture. So things have been changing. We're going to be making some dynamic shifts in our family here as far as like where we'll be and living and all that to be in a better spot to create from abundance. So I wanted to give you some tips of how I'm handling this, how I'm processing, and still able to have like a smile through all of this and still see the positive that can occur. So we're going to do a few. I'm not going to number them because I'm driving right now, doing my favorite part of the driving. We're just going to run down the list. Hopefully, we'll get some value out of it. And if you are getting value, please stick around till the end. I want to make sure that, I get this. And if it turns into something, we'll do like a bigger class on it. We'll do that and we'll go live and talk to the entire group. But here's one of the things that I start with. I look at the bigger picture, the end goal of going back to my goals and saying, does this line up to where I would like my goals to be? So what I'm doing today, does it line up to where the work I could be doing now will drive me into that? I didn't stress too much about this position because of it being in sales. I learned many, many good closing sales techniques that have helped me close $1,000 days, $2,000 days. I almost solidified everything that I knew, that yes, what I've been taught is good. What I'm practicing is right. What I'm engaging in is what's needed. So I can at least rest assured that the path I'm on is going to get me where I would like to be towards my goals. So when I look at it from the end and see the goal and see how it is, I envision being there and feeling what it's like. One of the goals is to get this really big beach house for my birthday in next July and invite my family and friends where they don't have to pay for anything. I'll cover it all, just show up. I'm imagining what it would be like to hear their laughters and the kids running around and screaming. And, even though it bothers me some points, I enjoy hearing it because I know that we're living, we're alive, we're processing and making the best of life. And being right around the beach and feeling the air going through my hair and smelling the salt in the water, the lazy pool that's in the backyard of this area, the 25 accommodation people there, and like the 13, 14 bedrooms, the theater room, and oh man, like I've been there in my mind, right? So I think back to those goals to give me hope for a future that is not yet to come yet. And I just realized I double yetted that. So that's one thing. Think from the end. What was the end looking like? And am I guiding myself down that and being driven to that goal? The other thing is, everything is temporary. Every single situation that we go through is temporary. Think about the last time that you had a really good laugh, like a gut-wrenching laugh that just kind of threw you for a loop. You couldn't breathe for a while, and you're crying, and you had a really good time. Like I'm smiling, thinking about a few of mine. That moment did last forever. It felt like it was lasting forever, but really it was like 30 seconds to a minute, something like that. And then think about one of the times you had that was really bad or not so good, like losing somebody you really care about, the death of a loved one, the loss of a job, something that you fought over with your spouse or your partner that maybe you didn't need to fight over. That seemed like that lasted for eternity. But really, that may have only lasted for a couple days, 4 days. It didn't last forever. So the point of the situation is that you and I are going to be going through this ebb and flow of life. We're going to be handling multiple situations with multiple feelings that will put us in a position that maybe we're not super comfortable with, but we know is going to produce something. I've been through enough to know that for the negative that happens, something good is around the corner too. And that there's a silver lining in every situation, every obstacle that shows itself. It doesn't have to be an obstacle. Sometimes it just needs to be a road hazard saying, oh, not this way. Hey, no problem. I'll redirect and go a different way. Sometimes they can just be lessons. But either way, it's temporary. So as much as this pain can hurt, it's not going to be here forever. And the only way it becomes permanent is if you make a space for it. And that brings me to another, we'll just wrap it up at this point. You have the ability to craft any situation you would like. So if we think from the end, we think about the goals that we're aiming for, we vision them out, we put ourselves there without ever having been there, and then we allow ourselves to remember that every situation is temporary. We then remember that we can craft any situation that we want. I don't mean that the situation can be whatever you want it to be and then you merge the numbers and spin it to be in your favor. I just mean that if you want to be married to somebody else, you can craft that into your life. You can prepare that foundation to exist. For a farmer to get crops to yield at harvest time, he doesn't wait until harvest time to plant the seed. He crafts the situation around him or her to be ready so by the time it is for harvest, there's something to harvest. Even if it takes 6 months and it's a new crop, the farmer's going to go with the instruction that he or she has been given. And it's the same with you and I. We're builders, we're creators. We're formed as an image of the invisible, a perfect creation from a perfect creator. That when we start to do things on our own, we miss the mark. We have to get back to the best of ourselves, and the only way to do that is to sync up with your creator, to sync up with the universe, to sync up with life, whatever you want to call it. I call it God because of my own personal journey of where I've been. When I connect back with God, I feel better. Even in a worse situation, I feel like it's all going to work out. Because guess what? It all does work out. Every single one works out. Even the ones that end in possibly a loss of life. Those situations still work out. I lost my grandmother to colon cancer a few years ago. That was back in 2012. We're 7 years later now. And the image of her voice, her memories live on inside of me. If she were alive today and I was guiding her through what I'm doing, she'd laugh her butt off and go, Jared, technically, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you look like you're on fire. I support you, baby. Go for it. And I hear that voice of her. I also hear the swearing like a sailor when she would drink too much, but that's so hilarious to me because she'd realize she'd say a word and then cover it up, right? Even in the moments of death, we can find the joy that exists. Because even if the physical body is broken down, the memories that you and I possess allow that person and their legacy to continue on. So if you think from the end and remember the goals that you have set forth, remind yourself that every situation is temporary, enjoy it for what it is, and then let it go when it's time to leave. And then know that you are a creator that can craft a situation to be what you would like it to be. All of this, be flexible. Allow life to occur. I forget his name. He wrote the book, The Secrets of Letting Go. Guy, oh boy, it's going to bother me. I don't know his name off the top of my head. But he had a list that was from a book that I had printed out and kept with me for a long time. It's like when you want what you want, you end up becoming miserable, frustrated, upset, and you live in that frustration. If you want what life wants, and I always equated life to God, if you want what life wants, you'll end up feeling at peace. You'll feel contented. You'll feel a joy. Remember that happiness is again a temporary feeling. You may never be happy all the time, but you can be content. You may never be angry all the time, but you can be filled with joy. And these things, my friend, you cannot do on your own. So my last words of encouragement to you before I wrap this up, make sure you're connected with people that have their best interests at heart, and they have other people's best interests at heart. Surround yourself with the people that listen to inspiring messages and then apply them to their life. Surround yourself with people who speak inspiring words and then apply it to their own life and walk it. Surround yourself with people who encourage you when nobody else will. And surround yourself with someone that you can count on that is willingly giving of their time to support you and put you back on the right path if you walk away. These are all keys, all secrets to make that happen. If you'd like to know more about how to do this on a consistent basis, all you've got to do is reach out. You can find me on Facebook, Jared S. Bartow. You can find me on Instagram, Jared S. Bartow. You can also take a look at jaredbartow.com. Even though it's mainly business centered, there's ways to reach me and get a hold of me there. Because I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear things that you've been talking about. Like even in the notes, wherever this is, if comments are available where this is posted, go ahead and tell me. Tell me what has been the one big thing that's been stopping you from going where you need to go. Don't worry about the answer. Just be like, I hate waking up in the morning. Be like, I'm a night owl. You could be like, I hate eating pizza. You know, you could be like, I can't get along with my spouse. It could be something like, my kids don't love me. They don't respect, like whatever it is, whatever big obstacle is stopping you from being who you want to be, drop it below. Let's work together. Let's come up with solutions together so you can get yourself to where you'd like to be. And I promise, if you do that, if you really give yourself a chance, things are going to end up pretty well. You just got to give it a shot. See what happens. Know that I care about you. Know that I appreciate you. And know that today is a great day. Even if you haven't experienced it yet, I know you will soon. Take care, my friend, and I'll see you later, Titan.